So it is the 1st of March 2018. This wasn't really a planned video, but I thought would be a very topical subject for my British viewers. And it's sort of in the format of a question. And the question is, do we allow ourselves in modern Britain to be too disrupted by the weather, specifically in this case, snow? Now, as I understand it, most of the country is having some degree of snowfall at the moment, and we haven't seen such a nationwide situation um, since the big snowfall of 2010, which I call the big white blanket. Because that year, if you looked at satellite images of the UK, in fact, the whole British Isles, the Republic of Ireland as well, both islands were basically white from snow. That's very unusual. Um, Usually, there's snow somewhere every year, but it tends to be restricted to higher ground. It's unusual that the whole country is covered in the way that it is, that it was in 2010. Um, where I live, Sunderland in northeast England, the snow here is perhaps, I would estimate, about half a foot deep. Now, that is quite deep for a coastal city where the salty air tends to disperse snow quite fast on previous occasions. We've had scatterings earlier this year in mid January, in early February, but I haven't seen anything like this since 2010. It's like gritted into the road. There's very little traffic out. And tonight it's quite windy as well. It's quite unpleasant weather. I went to a shop earlier to buy a newspaper, among other things, and yeah, it was proper snow. Very photogenic, makes great photo opportunities, but obviously not fun to travel in. Now, why I thought this would be a good subject to raise is because I've come across some people, particularly of a slightly older generation, who say that we are basically too soft. Um, in this country, we've had certain years that were infamous for the level of snowfall. One such year, I believe, was 19. It was either 61 or 63. I can't remember. Maybe in 63. That year really was very, very deep snow. I don't know how 2018 will compare. So far, I still think 2010 surpassed this slightly, but I haven't seen snow like this for a while. Now, I looked up my local cinema website to see what was showing. I said we apologise for any inconvenience. We're temporarily closed. Um, Now, I suppose this is a repercussion effect because the staff would, in many cases, have to get the bus into work. Bus service has been cancelled. Schools have been closed. Businesses have been shut. You would think the whole country is kind of closing down because of the snow. Now, firstly, I have huge respect for those workmen who go out in these horrible conditions to try and maintain, road gritters, um, and other people who try to maintain our infrastructure. I think they deserve a lot of respect for working in physically very trying situations when most of the rest of us are at home in the warmth. Um, and I don't want to go too much off topic, but I'm particularly thinking of rough sleepers at this time. It's scary to think that there may be people out there who will die tonight of hypothermia. I mean, they will die, and that's I'll probably make a specific video about that subject, but it's just something I'll throw in there because it's an awful thing to think of. Um, but those of us who aren't homeless, do we overreact? I mean, is a bit of snowfall really worth so much disruption? Um, I suppose there is the argument to be made it's better to be safe than sorry, i.e., in terms of public transport, it's better to have cancellations that frustrate people rather than risking going against the elements and possibly an accident occurring. But I think it is useful to compare the UK to other countries around the world that I mean, the UK is a cold country generally. I wouldn't describe us as a warm country. We would class as a colder country. But if we look at countries like Canada, parts of the United States, Finland, Russia, Um, I think they generally, I mean, we have this expression in the UK, keep calm and carry on. But when it comes to snow, are we keeping calm? It seems to me that perhaps we are overreacting a little bit. I mean, I'm not going to judge any business that decides to close. It's up to them. If they, if they feel their staff can't get in, that's one thing. But I do feel that perhaps we overreact a little bit. I mean, I've been out in the snow tonight, like I say. It was cold, but I didn't feel like it was sort of life threatening or anything like that. It wasn't, I just put two layers of socks on, I wrapped up warmly, and that was that. It wasn't like I didn't feel like I was fighting against the elements. It was a bit cold, it was windy, and it wasn't very pleasant, but I got some nice pictures. I don't know. I just think maybe we do overreact a little bit. Um, I'm not talking so much in terms of transport. That I'm more understanding of because there is safety issues at play. Um, I mean, I could certainly understand flights being cancelled on a night like tonight where it is windy, you have snow in the way. But other things, I don't know, shops closing, it's, I'm not so sure about that. By the way, if anyone's wondering, the shop that I went to was the Spar. The Spar is open all the time. It's one of the few shops that is. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. Certainly, I know there's people in other parts of the world that say, "Oh, that's nothing here in Ontario, or here in North Dakota, or here in northern Russia. That we have like 1 meter deep snow." So, comparatively speaking, this isn't that much. It's just that for this time of year, it is quite thick, and to be nationwide is also unusual. I don't know. I think maybe we're overreacting a little bit. Um, if I ran a business, would I close it? I don't know. I wouldn't force my staff to come in. Let's say I ran a shop and I had, I don't know, four assistants. I wouldn't force them to come in, but personally, I'd probably still open up because it's still business. You're still making money, even if you get fewer customers. Um, in the UK, we have gritters. They put down salt and kind of I don't know exactly what the material is. It's like it's a concentrated kind of sand material. They put that down on the roads, but at the moment they're only focusing on the major roads, which is understandable. Why put resources on smaller roads? But in terms of totally shutting down, because it does, you would think that we're in the middle of a siege or something, and it's been called the beast from the east because apparently it's come from the Russian Arctic. The Telegraph had an interesting column, Beast from the East, more like hysteria from Siberia. In other words, we're overreacting. Let me know your thoughts, particularly to my British viewers, but also maybe other parts of the world. If you're used to getting heavy snow, um, from what I understand, you just get on with it. And actually, in this country, apparently, we used to just get on with it and continue life as normal. I do think maybe we are overreacting a little bit. That's my gut feeling. But like I say, safety is also not something to be gambled with.